Fucking 10 seconds, so there we go.
Stand by.
Stand by. It's always a thing at the beginning, hey? There's always that bit of,
There you have it.
It's like starting an old car. Chugga, 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 chug.
No, it's not you, Olo.
She's starting up.
On cue. On cue.
Just mimicking.
Got a wind.
We're on.
Folks, welcome to another HotBox podcast. It's going to be another lazy, hazy Thursday evening already. We've got some... you know how it's canned laughter in sitcoms? We've got canned coughing. This evening I'm joined by Justus from JoinTheQ. We're going to be talking about a little bit about busts. Is it get out of jail free situation? We're also joined by Myrtle from the Dagga couple, much love. And Dan the Grow Man, hey?
What's up? How's it?
Welcome.
Cool, thank
Welcome. Are we all lighting up?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are.
Okay, guys, get your 710 on. It's almost time for you folks out there. Before we kick off, what have we got at the table today, Dan? I think we've got some bud of note. We've got some dab of note.
What do we got here? Where is it? We got some...
Is it gone?
It's gone.
Oh, no.
Seriously?
Quickly.
Oh, there it is there. There it is there.
Yeah.
We got some wax. Some nice wax.
What strain are we dealing with there, eh?
This is a Skywalker from what I'm being told. It's a wax, very soft. Looks good. Tastes good. Can have a look at it.
What is this that I'm smoking?
This is a
Homegrown.
Homegrown.
Yeah.
Homegrown.
Okay.
It's a
That says it
homegrown.
all. Homegrown's my
Decent,
favourite.
yeah.
Strain.
Everyone's got that homegrown strain.
Very tasty, but I won't take any chances. 2 days and pass on.
My second favourite strain is homegrown. My first favourite weed is free weed. I don't know if you've ever said no to free weed. So, folks, tonight we're talking about a couple of things. Just to give you an idea, we'll be looking at the SA Canada deal again. Oh, it's looking a little bit dodgy there. There was also a bit of a story in Neisner, a bit of pollutinous from the cops, a bit of a fail on what looked like a slam dunk. Greece is set to legalise medical marijuana. And if we get a little bit of time, we'll talk about things like the Bovida that's just come up, which sounds interesting.
The curing app.
But let's see how it goes tonight, folks. But let's start at the beginning. The story, so to give you all an idea of what's been going on, the flow is, we all know by now that there's this Tandeka story, this House of Hemp thing, this growing Dube agri-zone. But what was very interesting is there was recently a video on YouTube. It was a very odd-looking video that was like some fake CNN-type financial news report with very few views. But the owner of the majority share in this operation now said that the grow facility is now a key point, like in Kandla.
But is that just his wording? Or
That was it. But he said it's a key point, and he said that there's a national key point guard there to make sure what comes in, what goes out, who comes in, who comes out. Which means now, does this add a veneer of even more secrecy to what's going on?
that's at Dube.
At Dube, yeah.
Well, I mean, it is an agri-port. They may be using the whole
I think it's for the whole.
port, the international airport where they've got to check, there's port security that's there. They're sort of overplaying their words, probably.
You think so?
Yeah, but I don't know. Hey,
What key point is there? There's no key point there.
Yeah,
The weed.
he specifically stated that the government will be paying for the security.
Oh.
That's how he put it.
Okay.
That's what got me, and I stood up in my seat and I thought, no, man, us taxpayers are paying for the security for this private company.
If we're fine, we won't get any kind of stake or any kind of use of it.
And this is a Canadian company who's
The
got
ones
an
that bought
interest.
in, yes.
Like a big interest.
Huge.
$54
They're called
million or
LGC Capital.
$60 million or something.
Yeah.
And they say that their goal is to grow between 7 and 19 tons a year of medical product for the local market. So they must know something we don't. But I don't know.
I don't know. Then the second video, they were talking about, they had like a big world map, and they said they had Canada, and they had, I think, Spain and Australia, Perth in particular, which is, I didn't think that Perth was the place where there was loads of growing going on. But anyway, they had a few dots around, and they said that's where their interests are. And then he had like a little aside, and he said, but we're only dealing in a legal commodity here. And then he turned around, and then he went, and in South Africa, and we're setting up this, and we're setting up that. I mean, is this man delusional that it's legal? Is somebody telling him
Another
that it's
story.
actually legal? Is somebody still riding on a 20-year-old hemp research permit? I wonder.
I think he's got the wrong end of the stick.
I think either somebody's pulling the wool over his eyes, or he doesn't give a fuck.
Yes.
Doesn't give a fuck.
He's
It's gotta be one
saying
of
this,
the
yeah.
two.
He's looks at Africa like, oh, we've got this opportunity there. We're going to just ride it as much as we can type thing. You know, they've got the money.
It was so interesting. Still, it resonates. It was like, I've heard this all a lot before. We've seen they put the same pitch out there. But the moment he said key point for me, my jaw dropped. And that happened to you earlier when I said it as well. We said it off camera. I made that mistake. And you also, your jaw dropped.
Because what is a key point? I mean, that's a national interest. And why would a foreign company have an interest like that? For which market?
Why would we guarding a foreign company's interest? You know? If you said maybe we want to guard it because it's in some rural community and they haven't got security, but it's upliftment and we recognize that they need security, fucking A for away.
Yeah.
But that, I'm not sold.
Yeah, no, I've only watched 2. Apparently there's about 5 videos on YouTube, which we're going to try and save because the word's out there that those videos are going to disappear off YouTube.
Someone get them for us.
But I watched the first one and then the person I sent to it, then I sort of diffused the situation by sending an angry message back to them, expressing my disgust. Then the second one came in and I couldn't even watch the whole thing. I could have vomited all over the place. It really is.
I think there's one cure for that word.
I think so. Good for nausea.
Yeah, I think we need to all pay close attention to how it plays out. Are the Canadians getting the wrong end of the stick? Are they also being naive? Are they just sort of rose-tinted glasses because of their optimism and the profile and the demograph and all that?
Well, it's working in a suited for them. So.
Yeah. And they were saying they plan to take over the whole grow facility in the end, like the whole of fucking Dubia or some shit. But I don't know.
I also don't know about growing all of that weed under glass.
Yeah.
It's a bit funny.
It's not made for weed. That greenhouse is not made for cannabis. It was designed to grow vegetables. The whole setup is flawed, essentially. It's a big glass room that...
Tomatoes.
It doesn't work. It's not going to work. They're going to have to modify those greenhouses to make them work optimally to be able to grow cannabis, which is so much more sensitive. And I don't think those tunnels are light depth either.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to wait a few years to see if it's legit.
No, it doesn't look like there's any kind of contraption that would light depth. So that means that they're only going to be getting the amount of harvests in a year as they can with the natural sunlight, which is
a harvest
waste.
Too.
Why don't you just go 20 k's inland, up a bit higher up, where there's nice mountain breezes, whatever, away from there, right next to the sea. Anyway, that was also
But maybe the Guptas own the greenhouses or something.
Yeah.
Like who knows?
No, the Guptas own the air conditioning company.
SARS, do us a favour and look at that, please.
Yeah.
What was also interesting for me, and before we get into this topic, for those of you who don't know, JoinTheQ. So as I understand, it's not a get out of jail free card. Maybe sometimes it is. But what happens is, let's say you get bust. Because it's all fun and games, we're hitting bongs and smoking joints. But you get bust, the cops come in your door fucking now. Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
JoinTheQ. So, from what I understand, you can tell me a little bit more, is basically, so what happens now? So, someone gets bust. We hope you have the number, check the link. We'll put all the links in that, guys. It's also just JoinTheQ, the letter.co.za. But what happens now? The cops come kick my fucking door down. We have hard words with each other. I phone use, if they let me phone. What happens then?
So typically, whoever's manning the phone, it's either Charles or Janku, whoever else is the team. And the biggest thing that we've realized is the fear. The person who's in that situation just clamps. The rational thinking often just ends. Because 9 out of 10 of them aren't criminals. They've never been faced by a cop at the door. They've never been faced with such a violent situation. And they're doing it for all the right reasons, making this oil for their mother. So they're in this with pure intentions, and now this happens. And the only thing we can reasonably tell them on the phone is relax, okay? So you're on a boat on a river and the boat's capsized. You're going to go through a couple of very rough twists and turns, but you're perfectly safe. We know it's going to go all calm at the end, you're going to wash out, you're going to end up with people who are in exactly the same situation as you. What can happen now? So first of all, a couple of players in this whole drama. You have the arresting officers. You would have the investigating officer down the line. You would have the whoever's in charge of the police station, police captain, whatever, commander. You would have the lawyer, the friendly lawyer who just happens to be hanging around the corridor.
Waiting for you.
I wouldn't call him a lawyer, I'd call him a tout, yes.
Yeah. So that's there. You would have a prosecutor in the play as well. You would have a magistrate in the play. And these are all players in this little drama that's going to be unfolding for you in the next couple of days. And what you can expect, first of all, is there's going to be fear. There's good cop, bad cop. They're going to try and play you for whatever reason. It might be to get more information from you, who's supplying to you, who else knows, where's the lab, where's the Dagga lab. And we also invariably see that there's a friendly hand that gets extended. We know you're not a criminal, and if we go talk to the prosecutor on Monday, things can go better. So it's really feeding off the fear and the ignorance of how it should happen. And people are really fearful. They think I'm going to go to jail. They don't know what to expect. So we tell them, first of all, comply. No need to resist, and please
don't fight the man.
Don't fight it, because they're just going to get another reason.
Be polite. Be as calm as you possibly can.
You're
be
not
under
a
the
thug
circumstances.
at the end of
Don't
the day.
talk too much. Answer the questions with as minimal answers.
Yeah, because you're not a thug, you're not going to be able to pull that off in any case. Another thing that people also say, but hang on, where's your warrant? Or you didn't follow a procedure, or hang on, that was planted there. Take notes of all these things, but to try and rely on technicalities to get them out the door is not going to happen. You've got a defense. Once that goes down through the process, and a couple of days later or a couple of weeks later, when someone with a legal mind looks at the situation, they will be willing to throw it out. So stay calm, comply, make mental notes. If you have your phone voice notes, just make a voice note of what's happening. Remember, there's fear in your system. The chemicals are going wild. If you ask questions, just say, listen, I'm scared at this moment. I cannot think straight. I don't know. I prefer to not say anything.
And call JoinTheQ.
And yes.
I think
if
that's
they
the
allow
first
your
thing.
phone call JoinTheQ.
Call JoinTheQ.
Or
Correct. Phone
a friend and get them to phone us so that we have got a connection on the outside.
Yes.
Okay. So if it's now looking like they're definitely going to put you in the back of the van and take you off to jail for the night, then make sure that you've got either us or a friend, family member, whatever on the outside that we can speak to.
And if you go to the website, there's a whole list of frequently asked questions, typical things that you might be able to, or might happen in that
And I think
situation.
check the site proactively. Go.
Everything
don't
that you
anticipate
need
it.
to know is there, and it's written very simply and bullet points. And the website is now just, apart from the testimonials, the website is now just one page. So all you have to do is start at the top and scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find out everything that you need to know.
And can I ask, there's the story that came out this week about these folks that went through what appears to now be an almost get out of jail free situation. It was, let me just give you guys a bit of background. It was a story in the Knysna Plet Herald. So I imagine this is a pretty small town newspaper. I don't know who it belongs to in terms of the bigger picture of things. But they ran the story, second delay in Dagga case. And just to give you the blurb quickly, Knysna News, 2 Knysna suspects who were bust for cultivating Dagga, growing trees, at their residence in December, now have a second reprieve because of a blunder with police documents missing from the court roll. But what they've done is, and I'm not going to say it, they put the street that these people live in, which is almost trial by media.
Intimidation.
Yeah, because now everyone obviously knows. I've been in that community. Everyone knows fucking everyone. It's like living in $7, man. But what this boils down to is these oaks were growing some spliff in their attic, in their pitched roof. Something my old man dreamt of there, and someone did it, so it's amazing. And doesn't seem to be much going on, but it looks like the docket has now been lost.
So that happens in this whole chain of players. And each police station, each setup is unique in that you've got the guys who bring the fresh meat in the door, the cops. They put it into a system. there's absolutely no way to say, well, this is where it would happen or we expect it from there. But invariably, it's a lawyer who was at varsity with a magistrate, who then, magically a cop just appears and just makes you sign stuff and it's off. So it's the setup at each.
Do you think that could have happened? I'm not going to say anything, but do you think something to make
I can't speak to this one in particular.
Yeah,
but,
what I think happened is that the cops got a tip off. Okay, the cops
they say
do
from
not
the
work
neighbour.
on. They don't. The cops do not work on going to bust people who've got 12 plants on 6 months worth of investigation. No, they get a tip off, and that afternoon they're off down the road in their van to go and bust the people. Okay, so that's what happened. The part of a policeman's job is that if they get a tip off, they have to follow it. They have to.
Procedure.
Okay. So they get there, they see the people with their 12 plants, they see it's older people, and the situation is the situation. That's their thing. They get back to the police station, they know about the Western Cape judgment, they know about all the people in the area that have got stays of prosecution. They know that. It took us years, almost 18 months to get the stays of prosecution in Knysna. Okay, it was like maybe 3-4 years ago, but it's very fresh in their minds because it's humiliating for them when they get the stay in prosecution and they can't go any further with their case. So the cops knew that. So they fluff the docket, okay? Because what's the point? We're not going to pursue this. But then the Knysna Pet Herald wanted a nice juicy story, so they came and poked their noses. And now they want to, obviously have got a moral judgment against people who use cannabis in the town. And so now they're trying to push the story and making it out as if the police are inept and the la. So I think that's what went down. But Knysna is an interesting place because it was one of the places that we went with Robin Stransham Ford, who is our late advocate. And he was the person who came up with the JoinTheQ. It was his idea. And in the beginning, it was going to be an all-inclusive package, and we were going to, as a PR exercise, take him to every single place around South Africa where there was a Dagga case, and bring this flamboyant, outspoken, lardy-tardy advocate into like the Porpada Magistrates Court. That was this idea, and we did it. We went to Standerton, and I'll never forget. It was the middle of winter. And the advocate wasn't well, but I got him up at 5 o'clock in the morning, got in the car, drove to Standerton, there's wind blowing, and Standerton's like, no insult to people who live there, but it really is,
far from dirty.
Yes,
I don't want to use the S word.
We're going to get bad. You're going to pull a Trump.
We're going to pull a Trump. I'm not going to say it. My grandparents actually had a farm outside Standerton. So I could say that my ancestors are from there. I mean, I know it well. I know it from when I was a child. So we arrive in Standerton with the advocate, and he's got this beautiful purple silk tie, and he's all beautifully dressed with his gown and everything. And we walk into that Standerton court, and it honks, and the paint is peeling off the walls, and it's really run down. There's no loo at all. There's it's really but the worse for wear. And then the husband of the accused and I sat in the back of the court, and obviously the accused had to sit in the front, and we waited, and the advocate went up there, and you should have seen that magistrate's face when he saw Advocate Sansom Ford. And above the magistrate, in the ceiling, was a long fluorescent tube, and it was hanging by a little thin thing, and we were laughing in the back of court, waiting for this thing to fall on this poor magistrate's. And we got a stay of prosecution. So that's how JoinTheQ started. Then there were a whole lot of busts in the Knysna area. So off we dispensed our advocate, and I'll never forget the day. We weren't there, but they sent us photographs the whole day, and we got our stays in prosecution in Knysna. So why the Knysna Herald has not followed this or done their research, I don't know. It's just bad journalism.
But it's news. You can understand from the human perspective.
Outside
influence.
influence.
Boring though.
Outside influence. 100%.
So boring.
If I can though, and guys, you may notice I've got a bit of a dark sense of humour. I do tend to when you go past the car crash and you have a good gawk at it slowly and slow down and cause more traffic.
You're one of those people.
I'm starting to get a bit like that with the grow headlines though. So every time someone gets bust, it's cuck. But it is nice to see, I see what you were growing with there. I see that grow light, I see that. So maybe we should try something new here quickly. and you can tell me before we move on to our next topic if this is wrong or not. But maybe we should do a quick, if we can get that screenshot up of that Neisner thing, is let's do a quick rate my grow based on the bust videos. If we can.
Yeah, that's a good
let's
idea.
give this oak grow a score out of 10 based on his little setup there. So I don't know if you've seen it in the headlines. Let me give it to you on my phone here as well.
Let's get close up on the thing. You do move the screens over.
So here's the grow.
Okay.
And you can zoom in. Little modest grow there.
Okay.
Ah, sweet man.
Indoor little.
So what? That's about maybe 12, 15 plants.
Dad, you can check it as well. But
Yeah.
I'll go first. I rate in terms of setup, how this thing looks, how their grow looks. I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Yeah, it's neat, it's modest, it's small.
I'd say so.
But you might outgrow that. He would have been in trouble in a month there, I think. The plants would have gotten pretty big.
Now, that would be about
Yeah.
20 kilos bust there.
Yeah, with the street value of
Yeah, because you
2 million rand.
If
take
we
it
can-
right out of the soil and you take it right and you weigh it like that.
You know, it's hilarious that you say this because, like, Google Translate pulled a SAPS today. Jules was looking at something and it auto-translated an Afrikaans headline into English.
The George one. Yeah.
And it was fucking hilarious because it was something like 2 fas
Twee vas vir
vir
Dagga.
2 miljoen rand se marijuana of it's 2 fas. So that meant, like, in Afrikaans 2 quart. But check what it translated it to. It translated it to 2 fuck for 1 million rand marijuana.
That sounds fair.
Fail.
It's maybe like the AI in Google's developing a sense of humor because the big fuck is your first choice of translate. Because that's too hilarious. Where's the phone there, guys?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Thanks, man.
So now, we don't know what's going to go down in Neisner, but we do know that the accused are livid. And, you know, it's sometimes sad as it is, it takes people to being bust to realize, to be indignant enough to become activists. And I know from our various correspondence with the accused is that they are really, really pissed off and they're rearing to go and they're rearing to help the cause. And, you know, to all of you people in Neisner out there, we've got lots of supporters. There's our beautiful family in Judah Square. There's all the people dotted around in the mountains in Harkerville and Wilderness and Karatara and all of those places. Like, really, there's strength in numbers down there. You had a great march last year. So I think that Neisner is a breeding ground for activists. So let's just call it that rather than the, you know, the shit cops and the snitch on your neighbor. Yeah.
Because that's, I think, a lot of the time is a snitch on your neighbour. So love thy neighbour, hey?
Yeah.
Snitches.
And I think maybe
No one likes
also
to
these
snitch.
oaks didn't have a light trap or something because it looked like there was light shining right out that fan. So it looked like trance party
Yeah,
in there
good.
each
I
night.
give them the props for growing in the roof. It's one of the hardest places to grow because
Hot.
it's just too hot. Literally,
Yeah.
it's just way too hot. But
It's kind of the textbook place.
yeah,
you
exactly.
know,
Yeah, well, it's
like,
stealth. You
put
know,
grow in
it's
the roof, yeah.
beginner grower type
Yeah.
thing. Definitely.
Your
Well, that's what happened to
But
us.
then, you know, it seems like this is the most of the time. It's most of the time that these busts are happening. It's to beginner growers.
Yeah, and it
This
looked
is
like
not. This is not grow. They're not busting people that have experience, and except for the biggest bust in South African history, which they did have experience. But
Yes, but those are quite few and far between.
way few.
Yeah.
You don't. It's
the
because
hawks are seldom involved.
it's because the people are growing, and they're selling on the street, and they're doing something, or something that they're doing is like bringing a lot of attention to them, and they're not actually considering the whole way this.
Even
this,
if it's
this
got nothing
works.
to do with the Dagga. They've got a dog that craps on the pavement and they're fighting with the neighbour, or they don't like the son's girlfriend because they think her mother's common, or, you know,
smoke
how it
coming
goes in the drama of life. And that's where it comes, because snitch on your neighbour is rife.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Your
if
girlfriend
you're...
will snitch on you. Your
And also
boyfriend will snitch on
blabbing
you.
about it. Blabbing about it. Oh, come and look at my Dagga plants.
Loose lips sink ships. Basically, that's how it works.
And that's it. And it's always
Yeah.
the first rule. You tell fucking no one because you get so full of pride. Oh, my lady's also lekker. Come, let me show you. Come, kom Jannie. Kom kyk wat maak pa. Kom al. And then it's fucking boom, hey?
Yeah.
You don't know who you said it to, and it's always a trail of uncertainty.
You know, especially
Or
if
some
you guys
oak
that
rolls
drink,
on
you
you.
know, if you have a
Oaks roll
couple-
up.
have a couple drinks in you, you will talk to anybody about anything. You don't know. It's really it's a silly
The thing is, in South Africa, we've got a really shortage of people who are really, really resourceful. And if you're going to grow Dagga, you've got to be resourceful in all areas. You've got to consider the future. I mean, we know of somebody who's got money saved in case they get bust. They've got the whole plan. In case they get bust with the reboot, they've got like insurance. Now how's that? They're extra discreet, and you'll never ever in your whole life know who these people are.
But they're running like a business, a proper business.
But they're running a proper business. They're preparing for the future of cannabis in South Africa.
They actually, some people call us beforehand and say, listen, I haven't been bust
Yes,
yet,
that's a good one. Yeah.
but tell me what to do.
Maybe we should be like the insurance of weed, because I've always said
in my mind, just in case.
In my mind, like remember when you'd bunk school and you'd regret it because there'd always be cut TV on, and it would be like clientele ads.
And you're like, why did I do this?
We're like JoinTheQ is like the clientele of weed. It's that legal support. You know, where it can be, it's free. Where it's not, it costs a buck. That's the reality of it. But you know what? It's also one of those first grow. There's like testaments, and it's also one of the commandments for me is your first grow. You put some money away, somewhere far away.
Sure.
So that when shit does get fucked up, reboot.
Exactly.
Know that in 6 months.
Or at least work on. At least you could say work on that fund that you would call it, I guess. Work on it.
Because you know what it needs to be.
When you grow and you want to get your return, if you're selling it, or if you just whatever, maybe you're not selling it, you just for yourself. A little bit put away every time will keep you safe in the long term.
JoinTheQ being part of Fields of Green, if you're a Fields of Green or Green Network member, 150 Rand a month, then if it does something does happen, then you actually just
it's part of the package.
You get your paperwork for free. That's part of the thing. So that will save you 3 grand, 2,990 for the whole JoinTheQ admin assisted. We hold your hand every step of the way process. Okay. So I mean, really, and if you have 50 plants under lights, what is 3 grand? You know, what is 3 grand really? Yeah. So we do assist people who can't pay. That particular Standerton story all those years ago was one of our first sponsored. We always talk people through it and everything, but really 3 grand, especially if you're growing. Maybe a possession deal, whatever, you might need a bit of help.
And firearms, tricky.
Yes, and that was also another thing of one of the busts that came through yesterday. They said, the cops are at the house and everything, so I was talking them through it on WhatsApp. And then they said, oops, they just found my father's antique bullet collection. And
from the Boer War.
Yeah, like one of this bullet and one of that bullet and whatever, all in a box. So now it's ammunition as well. So look around the house and just don't have,
be woke.
Even if it's mushrooms or a little bit of this or a little bit of that, just don't complicate things. Because when we hear that there's firearms or anything like that involved in a bust, we quite often have to walk away. These people quite often have to get quite expensive lawyers involved, and it becomes a big long story. So,
if I may, just at this particular stage, on the topic of JoinTheQ, and it's in these conversations, it's very easy to become cynical. That the police are out to nail growers, and they really are out to make and they're in collusion and all corrupt, and that's the sad part for me, being in this game, or what we do, is that very often that is the perception that's formed. There are a lot of cops who are really
just cops,
who are really good guys, and who are uninformed. A guy told me once, a cop busted him, a young guy, busted him with his plant in flower, and the cop said, listen, when I come back tomorrow, all these leaves are off, alright? It means the cop didn't have an idea that
you don't know what
was there, how the plant works. I've sat in a courtroom where the magistrate was calling up family members, really concerned about this drugs this person's on. They don't know. They're just going with what's in the media. And is it in this guy's best interest to keep him inside? Is he going to get access to this outside? That's really the motivation of this particular magistrate. So the ignorance feeds into this whole game, and unfortunately, I think we are the wiser for it. We know this is what it does, and it's a medicine. And unfortunately, we then, in general, become cynical towards the police, and that for me is one of the sad things about prohibition. A policeman doesn't become the helping hand that it
makes the enemy of a friend.
No, exactly.
Yes.
But I'll just have my 5 cents here. let just one policeman in South Africa actually stand up and say that all of these Dagga busts are actually wrong. Actually say that in the media or something. Stand up, take the chance.
Do it.
And do it.
What?
Then I think I will have a bit more respect
There's
for the
that
police.
guy in
But
Cape
there's
Town.
no, there, I know, and all hail to Jeremy Very. Big shout out to him. Quite a top cop, I do believe, in Cape Town, who wore the Rasta shirt and was demoted for wearing the Rasta shirt. He also features in the President's Keeper's book, and is a man of integrity. But sure, few and far between. It's very difficult not to hate them.
What's that
Very
organisation,
difficult.
Police for Cannabis Legalization?
I don't know if that's a local
It's
thing.
not
No,
a
it's
local one,
LEAP,
it's only
Law
LEAP.
Enforcement Against Prohibition, and we've actually spoken to them on numerous occasions. They're international affiliates of ours, with one particular quite high up member of LEAP we speak to quite often. But I don't know, with the police, the less you have to do with them, the better. If you are arrested, you need to get your case out of the police station into the magistrate's court. The magistrate's court's a horrible place. It's dirty and it's smelly and it's crowded and it's full of desperate, really sad, scared people. You want to get your case out of the magistrate's court. If it's not thrown out there, you want to get out of the magistrate's court and into the high court. Once you're in the high court, you can breathe a sigh of relief.
Easier.
Ask our friends who just got the first day of prosecution end of last year up in Mafeking. It was really difficult for them because they didn't know the process. They chose not to be represented, so they did everything themselves. Very, very brave. Once they got out of the magistrate's court in Koster, they got to Mafeking, and there was the registrar willing to help them, showing them what to do. You haven't done this. You haven't photocopied this. Do that, do that. And you'll find that the High Court is a much friendlier place. It's not called the High Court for nothing. It really is. Even if you go to the High Court downtown Johannesburg, it's a beautiful building. It's a historic Johannesburg building. And people are, there's advocates and judges walking around with robes. And
It's a busy
the
place.
toilets are usually clean. And so don't be scared of the High Court. Police cell, magistrate's court. If you can't get it sorted quick in magistrate's court, just get a stay of prosecution.
And very often the police try and keep it and finish the whole job at the police
But
level
if we can,
by
we're gonna get
signing,
there.
by signing admission.
I'm gonna get exactly there because that's a juicy thing. Before we get there, another international story this week came up in the Citizen in part of their world news section. Greece is set to allow medical cannabis use. So basically the byline is Greece's parliament is expected to approve the medical use of cannabis in the coming weeks. The deputy minister said Sunday, adding that the change would attract investment to the country. And what this article made no bones about was that these guys, the big motivation is financial, yeah. That's it. And you know what? I can respect that because there is the issue of big business. Should we be afraid of big business? But if you wear it proud, I want to make a buck, that's cool. But when you want to make a buck and you dress up as something else,
Yeah.
that's when I
say
get
we're
mad.
doing this to save our country from financial crisis. Don't be like, no, we want to save the people. Bullshit, you don't. You just want to save your financial problem. Just say it. Then the country will respect you a lot more.
Exactly.
And then they'll be like, well, can we maybe make some money with you? And you can either say yes or no. But
That's exactly
don't
it, dude.
just hide it. Come on, guys.
Because they say
You've
in
had
this
hiding for
thing.
so long.
We're not addicted to poverty.
No.
Everybody wants to make some money.
Every single person wants to make money as much as you think we don't. We're talking to the big people.
Yeah.
And they say just the investment. So they're not talking about the actual value that this will generate. So I imagine it's going to be a bigger number. But they say just the investment that they anticipate they will attract by doing this will be 2 billion euros. Which is like a gazillion rand.
Every
like-
single tradesman, every single person that has some kind of part will be employed then.
Yeah.
Literally. It will create so much work for people.
And listen carefully. Listen carefully. Like, I think what it works out to, if we had to translate this to rands, would be a number with like 10 or 11 zeros on it.
What number?
30
So if we had
billion.
to take 2 billion euro to rand,
Billion.
that's 40 billion rand,
15, I think. Yeah.
30 billion rand, whatever. How many noughts are there on a billion? Like 8 noughts, I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go and add the 0 for the 30. 9 noughts. 9 noughts. Just an investment. How much do you think they're going to fucking grow? Because if that's what they're putting in, they must be expecting to make at least that back.
Well,
And it doesn't matter how high-tech things are, cannabis will always be a labour-intensive thing. And there's all of the Greece got this huge unemployment. So we must watch. They've also got that Mediterranean climate, so maybe they can do at least one or outdoor crop a year.
If you look at there's some Google images of, I think it's in Spain or somewhere in Turkey, where they've got these Google images where if you go, when you zoom in, it becomes this huge white, blurred out, massive, thousands of, like hundreds of kilometers across of this white area. And all of it is just greenhouses.
Isn't it?
Hundreds and millions of greenhouses all put together. And if they had to even just decide to turn those from, instead of like growing tulips and half those damn things, and grow some cannabis.
Exactly. Put solar on the roof.
Job creation with a
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah, dude.
In every single country you could do this.
It'll be like fucking conscription. You'll turn 13, we send you to the farm.
To the
son.
farm.
Yeah.
You get a choice between
Sonia.
prison, kibbutz, or the farm to grow cannabis.
grow your own stuff.
I bet Jeremy would like that though. That's up his alley. But yeah, all the best to Greece. I wish it was like that locally.
Yeah, I love Greek food, so I'm looking forward to some Greek cannabis-infused food.
Imagine what
Greek
kind of
dad,
food, imagine what kind
Yeah.
of weed they would grow. I mean, it's different climate, how it would come out. Have you
Interesting.
ever heard of any kind of cannabis coming from Greece?
Not really.
No.
You hear from Spain.
Spain is a
Yeah.
huge producer.
Yeah, and they're all in that zone. Cause
So they do produce. Let's not get this wrong. They've got some very hot sun. They've got lots of sunshine there.
Yeah.
And all their white buildings, they could just grow weed on their roof and they're literally like in the know-how. In the hotspot. But
yeah, I imagine it'll be something. And imagine the amazing holiday. You sit the sea right here, and you look right here, and it's just a field of fucking dank, eh? And your tent's there, and you can
some
hear
locally grown cannabis.
Yeah, eh? You can take a shit under one of the plants, they'll pay you extra or something. So this is always jammy for people. So I've met a few people, I think my parents were affected by this. They got busted when they were pretty young. And I think it went to court, maybe the old man saw time. But something that came up was an admission of guilt. So you get bust, and I don't know what the price point is, you can correct me here. But let's say you get bust with your joint or whatever, you're a white boy, they can see you got $500, because a lot of oaks don't have $500 to pay this thing. But from what I understand, you can pay an admission of guilt, which is like a fine.
Yeah.
And then you fuck off.
It's not a fine.
But it's exactly, it's not just a fine. It doesn't disappear. This is a thing.
Yeah. It's an admission of guilt. You're admitting that you are guilty before you've been to court.
Of a criminal offence.
Of a criminal offence. And as a result of admitting you are guilty of a criminal offence, you will have a criminal record.
At least 10
Yeah.
years.
And that admission of guilt, there's two things that the police will seldom tell you. The one is an extra piece of paper that tells you that by signing this admission of guilt, you will get a criminal record. You have to sign that and know that. Okay, say that you've known that. They don't give you that piece of paper. And the other thing that they don't tell you is that you have 21 days in which to go away and decide whether you're going to pay this. It varies. The average is about 300 Rand in smaller towns, 500 Rand in the city. Sometimes 1,000. Not often though, but yeah, they don't tell you that you've got 21 days in which to go away and do that.
It makes their stats look good because it's a successful
Conviction
that they can add to their stats list.
So I was, many years ago, I was in Durban, and we went to watch a rugby game with my friends, and we were driving back, and we were drag racing this combi in the streets of going through Durban. Robot to robot, and I went ahead of it. Next thing, the lights go on. Cops. So they were literally dragging me in Durban. We were racing. Pulled us over. Got out the car, searched the car. Is this your car? Yes, it's my car. Look, find some weed. Is this yours? It's mine. Yes, it is mine. Okay. Follow us to the police station. So I follow them to the police station. Go inside with the weed. And then on the wall, they say, look there on the wall, there it is. For X amount of weight is this amount to pay. So I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case.
What was a little chart, or was it a hand drawn, or was
No,
it
it was printed out, but it was literally like 3 lines on a piece of paper that was on the wall. Look there it is. It was 0. It was really, really low. It was like 200 Rand. I think it was literally, they must have printed it themselves.
Yeah.
And when you're saying that you have to fill out a form for admission of guilt, right?
Yeah.
That has to be a form. It
It
can't
has
be in
to
a
be a
book as a ledger or anything.
Signature.
But it can't be in a book with multiple names in a book.
No.
Okay, because when this was many years ago, and it makes me think, because their name, there was a thing that said, no, write your name and sign. So I wrote my name, and then I started talking to them, and I didn't sign the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what's the story, how much? And they said it was 200 Rand, so I gave them the 200 Rand, because I thought, cool, well, I'm gonna get out of this. Didn't know anything about JoinTheQ, anything, it was many years ago. And I gave them the money, and they're like, okay. And I said, well, now I've got to go back to Umkomaas, because it was down on the south coast that I was going to. We were staying there on holiday. And I decided to, well, can I have my weed? Because I'm going a long week's drive. They said, yeah, sure, take it. Got in my car, we drove the rest of the way.
And did you dice them out of the city into the sunset?
I've heard about the
That
black
was,
book
like that
before.
happened. And these two cops laughed. They were like, where are you going? Long drive? I'm like, yeah, we're going to be driving all the way down to the south coast where we were staying for the holiday. It's fine, you can take it. Get in my car and go quickly, don't even think about it.
Yeah, and whose register was that?
But that's the thing. It was like you say, it has to be a form that says admission of guilt.
And you didn't put your ID number or anything there.
Well, no, this is how. Now, obviously, I can find out. Yeah, I'll be able to find out if it was actually a record thing, right?
Yeah.
How does one find out?
Yeah, how does one find out?
The run just do a police check.
What, online?
Criminal record. No, potential employers might do it.
How do you do it?
If you go to the Dagga Couple website, daggacouple.co.za, and you go to the blog, you'll see that Jules wrote a blog all about admission of guilt fines.
Great.
And it has everything, and it has the link to the website to check whether you've got, and you enter your ID number, and then it'll come up whether you've got a record and what it's for.
Oh, great.
They take it very seriously. It's a very serious.
And 10 years, forget it. It's 10 years. And don't even think of trying to do it before 10 years. And then after 10 years, it doesn't automatically fall away. You have to apply for expungement, it's called. So you apply for it to be expunged, and one really run-of-the-mill, not fancy attorney told us once that it will cost 10,000 Rand. Do you remember that? It'll cost 10,000 Rand, and it'll take a year to get the expungement through.
There's a company in Durban online, they also specialize in actually rescinding judgments. If you have, and there's a case, I think the documents are online as well, a judgment of where, so if you become aware that you've signed an admission of guilt and that your rights weren't made clear to you at that particular stage, you can appeal. It's a costly process. It goes through the High Court. But having read the judgment,
there's a precedent.
There is a precedent. They take it. The judge takes it very seriously.
Okay.
The fact that this little piece of paper is signed meant that there was an admission of guilt. Sure, if you weren't informed of your rights and you can prove that to the judge, then he would be willing to do so. But it's probably,
and you have to do that within 3 weeks, I think it is, within 3 weeks, 21 days of paying the fine and signing the admission of guilt, if you want to have it rescinded. After that,
if you want to rescind it without the High Court procedure,
yes.
The High Court procedure would be for later.
Yeah. My next question to you is going to be about testing. So local issues on that, but I think in the spirit of that, there was an interesting article that came up this week by the Free Thought Project, and it's titled "Police Now Conducting Mouth Swab Checkpoints to Test Drivers for Marijuana." And the caption is, with the legalization of marijuana comes the bolstering of the police's state and new mouth swab checkpoints for weed. Sorry, this is a bit weird. Checkpoints for weed are evidence of it. I might be reading this wrong. Maybe you Oaks can read it too and tell me if I'm not processing here. But anyway, and they say there's this new fancy schmangled fucking thing that they'll take a mouth swab and they'll test you on the spot, and it can test for everything. Can test for Turk, can test for weed, can test for cum, I don't know, whatever. Whatever. But
McDonald's.
But they say they're saying the contentious issue now is, as we all know with weed, you take a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs that are hard on your system are processed by your system quickly. From what I understand, like coke and meth and booze and tobacco, your body processes it, cleans out in like 24, 48 hours or something. But with weed, because it's fat soluble, it stays in your system for like ages, especially if you're a user.
Yeah.
So testing now is like, sure, you can test us, but this thing has no way of telling, is this guy grilled?
How high am
and
I?
like, can barely hold his fucking bong while driving, so should stop. Or if it's just someone who's medicated or medicated a week ago.
Exactly.
I mean, then they just start doing, tests on other prescription drugs that could affect you in this way that they think that cannabis is affecting you.
But as long as you show them that thing that says, I'm allowed to take this.
Or just suck a coin.
Suck a coin, dude.
Like the old school driving, put a coin in your mouth when you drive home after being pissed. And when you blow it through,
eat an onion.
I think the question to ask is, who owns the company that makes the testing kits?
Follow the money.
Yeah, who's got that tender or whatever they call it in England? Don't know whether they have a corrupt tender system like that, but it's somebody's cousin's aunt's brother
Someone's
that has
living
this
large
kit
on it.
that he's having manufactured in China, and he's managed to sell it to the authorities. One of the things that we're going to really, really press for in our proposals for what we want it to look like in the end is this whole driving thing. They must be able to, there has to be a test when you are there on the ground. Like you have the walking along the line, there's got to be some sort of cognitive test. And I'm sure that there's enough clever people out there that they can come up with a test that there and there they can see if you're so goofed that you can't drive. Because you've got to agree with me, you've got to be seriously greening out or something. Because most of the time, most of us just like wait for the stop street to turn green.
Don't skip the
oh,
robot.
sorry. Nobody drives crazy.
They're gonna have a hard time trying to put a test together for stoners. Really,
yeah. You've got to improve that impairment right there. Not blood and weeing and swabbing in your mouth and all of that. None of that's going to work.
Because what do they do locally? What have you seen? Do oaks get blood tested or piss tested when they get arrested for weed?
For weed?
Yeah.
No, they don't test.
You never get tested.
They're just taking and they say, there's the weed.
Yeah, it's
even
only
if you get tested, that your mom or whatever sends you to
the discount to get
tested.
tested.
No, whatever it is. You just get you bad boy.
Necro or whatever.
No, you get arrested. Except if you are pissed and you get a blood test and you did happen to have caused an accident, you get arrested.
Yeah.
So
no, there's no actual testing of drivers for THC. That's why it's all just supposition on their part that we're also driving around goofed. Yes, we are all driving around goofed, but we're not driving badly, like somebody who was pissed. So now they're trying to impose this on us when they can't prove. Show me an accident that has it on the piece of paper that cannabis caused this car accident.
But I think we're also going to see
such thing.
An adverse reaction, as we often do with stonerism, is that the moment they can define it, the moment they can measure how high you are, everyone's going to buy the fucking shit for themselves because it's going to be this little diabetic pen and you're going to stick yourself and it's going to say THC for 20%.
We need to get higher. Ingest more. Let's see how much this thing can go to.
Turn up the nail, try and burn the thing out.
Yeah. Let's find a way to cheat it.
Yeah, and then just go and eat 2 liters of ice cream and go get in the car and you'll be fine.
And then you use your diabetic pen, dude.
There we go.
Yeah, it's a very imperfect science. How high is too high?
Oh, exactly.
And what levels. And then also, some people just have grown used to driving, and invariably it's a slower, more meticulous exercise.
Because you're just a little bit paranoid. Your paranoia keeps you safe.
No, but maybe that's also a default setting. It's a stonerism, and we'll talk to that if we have enough time. Hopefully, we'll get to that. Or we'll save it for next week. What was also interesting is Dan, you brought up there's this new thing called this Boveda Inc. What's this thing you said
it's
about?
The Boveda. So the Boveda packs.
We don't know. Tell the people what's
Boveda. Nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, wait. I think there's some inside here. Okay, Now we're doing a bit of competition against other companies. This is a small humidity pack that you put inside your glass jars of weed. What it does is it will keep them moist and humid enough to keep them fresh. So instead of your bud dying out, drying out and going all crispy.
Because every time you open the jar, it must get a pinch drier.
Yeah, and especially if you've grown a plant and you've got this huge jar, and every day you go inside and you're taking out of that. That's not a good idea. First of all, rather keep small sections in small jars so that you can at least get, don't destroy your whole thing. But you get these packs that you put inside the jars that release moisture. It's a two-way humidity regulator, and what they do is they'll just keep your bud humid and right, and you can keep it for a long time. Basically cure.
But what's this thing they made? So that's cool. They make this thing that's pretty nifty, but they made something cool now.
So now they made a wireless sensor that you can put inside your humidors or your curing box or your cigar cabinet or whatever it is you want to put in, and then there's an app that you can log into where it tells you exactly what's happening inside.
And you get like 50 notifications a day.
So you know what humidity and temperature your glass, your jar of weed is sitting there in the cupboard. So you know
your weed sends you happy emoticons.
There we go. That's it.
Happy.
It's the ultimate stoner's dream, I think. To make sure.
Didn't the guys also put fruit or slices of fruit in?
You know, that's the old school method, but I mean, it's brought on mold.
Yeah, it's a risky thing.
It's a risky thing if you don't do it right, I guess. So if you're not a veteran at doing it, you know exactly.
Because also what happens is, if there's not like a even or a regulated distribution of that moisture, it creates an immediate wet spot, and that spot rots, and then everything rots. From my experience.
Moldy weed is bad weed. Don't ever smoke moldy weed. Don't ever smoke moldy weed.
Yeah, so guys, go check it out. It looks fucking interesting, this thing. Hopefully
you can. I'm sure you can blast it, but the science behind it is if you're blasting something, you concentrate it. So therefore, you're concentrating the spore. You'll take the spore from that, and it'll go with it. Whether it is or isn't, we don't know. I don't know if it is, but I have heard that the powdery mildew spore, that spiraglus or something it's called, that can be pulled off with your solvents.
There was a fatality in the US now recently of a moldy
weed.
Yeah.
So it was caused by mold, essentially. Yes. So there we go. It's not
but then you must call it like Tutankhamun, because it's like that thing when old explorers used to open old things. That's it. So there'd be old shit and
some people can smoke it and not have a problem, but other people will smoke it and their lungs just won't handle it. They'll just literally shut down. Which is not good.
They might have had a bit like some sort of lung disease anyway.
Yeah, even if you don't, it can trigger off that kind of stuff, because if you've got to put a mold into your lung, I mean, essentially it's like, it's not that good.
Yeah, and it starts living there and growing its own shrooms. Omni trippy shrooms in your lungs.
That's
I wonder how much people pay for that,
horror story.
Cadaver profits, dude.
So Dan, can we hit these guys up to become an affiliate of Fields of Green?
Yeah, guys, if you're watching Bovina, if you happen to be watching,
yeah, we can.
Is it local?
No, we haven't got that.
So you clever stoners out there, have a look and see what's in there, and you can produce your own.
Yeah, send us your shit. We'll try it out.
So there's no jobs in the country. There's a job right there. Make a locally produced humidity pack. And for all the local tobacco shops and the... what else?
Yeah, because we'll have more than one application. It's very much like tobacco in that sense.
Many applications.
Before we go down a rabbit hole there, guys, we're coming in for landing. So we've got a couple of minutes left. I thought we'd end on what might be an easy or not topic. Stonerisms. Like, there's this article that went around, but I've kind of felt it for a while. I've had this sentiment like, should we be like pushing the stoner image and stereotype away and trading our bongs for 3-piece suits and suiting the fuck up? Or should we be embracing our stonerisms and preserving the culture? I don't know. I don't
think you should be getting a suit now, all of a sudden. But I think you can't... I think that the image of that hippie, dirty stoner that a lot of people still have in their mind isn't the best way to go forward in society either. Even though you're not trying to conform, it's just... You can be a stoner that can be dressed the way you are and be successful. I think that the image, that old image, is not really
not there yet.
But we all love a crusty hippie. I mean, it's just like,
I like that dropping my whoops.
Not in the boardroom.
Not in the boardroom. But I think that
you can come into the boardroom with dreadlocks. Of course, keep your culture.
But then you look like you're in the Matrix, dude. One of the bad guys.
Yeah, or whatever. You've got a suit on. You put a collared shirt on, just at least. Yeah. I don't know. Well, that's my opinion.
Lots of different ways of being presentable, but I think that stoner culture has had a big spillover in the last 5 years or so into the whole hipster thing. Definitely has. I mean, look at this glass and all of that. That's not about bongs made out of old bullet casings or buffalo horns or something like that.
All gold bottles.
This is really sophisticated. It's very hip to have a double percolated
yes,
damn
of course.
red.
There we go. That's what I'm saying. It's sophisticated.
So I think it's already happened.
From Coke bottles that would put a pipe into it to beautiful glass that you would admire, and you would actually put this on any mantelpiece in a house if it's...
I bet there's some oaks smoking a Coke bottle bomb right now watching this.
Don't get me wrong, it was what we all started with.
Because maybe we should, because, you know, I haven't made up my mind yet. I think in a way we should preserve it. Like, I'm not going to go there, but in terms of race issues in America and maybe locally, you know, the cultures have been very successful at reappropriating words that were used against them as suppression, even marijuana as an example, and taken that. And maybe the culture is big enough. Like, I don't know if you started watching Disjointed or anything yet, but they deal with the paradox of there's these two oaks in there. I think it's Dabby and Danky, these two characters, and I think they actually they're very clever like this. I think these oaks are persona of Custom Grow 420. Because they sit and they have their camera and all their shit and they smoke bongs till the snot comes out and talk shit and people love it.
Of course.
Yeah, but people love death on the internet also.
Well,
it sells. I'm not saying not like, no, it does sell.
But what is stoner culture? I mean, if there is a thing like that,
is it what you see Cheech and Chong getting high and doing nothing, or is it? Exactly. That's what I'm
8 years ago, 9 years ago, I never smoked any. And I'm a very recent addition, so I don't do dreadlocks. My business setup, the world that I live in, is still very much a very straightforward world, and very few smokers.
I think it's something that unites all of us, and there's certain things that stoners are always into because of the way that weed makes us feel, and that's music and art and sitting around to speaking shit.
That's it. There we go.
And
the rituals
playing
that come
silly
with it.
games, you know, frisbee or whatever.
The
Hanging
willingness
out,
to sit in a car and quickly
gardening.
roll a joint before you go to like an event or something.
Exactly.
You know, that is, yes. Keep
Going to a board meeting.
That is the soul of it. That is the rituals of rolling the joint and doing it like, yes, we want to be standing loud and proud, but you know what, if you go stand by the river and smoke a joint and say, oh, we're just looking at the river, that's it. You know, you're going to do those things.
Exactly.
Cool.
Or you're sitting in that boring conference and the air conditioning's too high and you know that you can have a cup lunch and it's so boring. And then you're looking around all the people and you're thinking, who's going to be in the car park?
Yeah.
And invariably you can spot a stoner in a crowd.
Or, now, like
So
you say, in a conference with a vape.
if I can correct you,
Yes.
the stonerism thing with this is like, you know how you see something before you hear it? It works. There's a paradox. I smell a stoner before I see one. Because I won't look at you and think stoner, but I'll be like, it's you.
Like watching an animal in the wild, you see the movements. Oh, they stick to the side of the path for a little bit longer. What are you doing? Why are you walking
So
around?
it breaks time in a way. It's travel.
It's a bit like one of those secret society handshakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we
Speaking
have
the language.
We have a way of communicating with each other without.
And then all of a sudden, there's a whole conversation that
Can
opens
happen,
up. There's a
exactly.
sense of community, a sense of connection.
I hope we preserve it.
Yeah.
I think so. Whatever it is, it's very difficult to define.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very difficult to find that.
Whatever it is, I hope it lives on.
Yes.
But guys, thank you. It's been
Yay.
a wonderful episode. I hope you folks at home have enjoyed it. Again, tell us what you love, what you don't love, what you want us
Like,
to talk
share.
about. Yeah, I'll go rate that Oaks Grow as well. See if you agree on the ratings we gave it. But before we go, I did this a bit of a long way last time. I shouted out to all the affiliates. I think we'll do like a few a week. We'll keep it reasonable. Otherwise, it's really long, awkward credits at the end. So just before we go, let's start with the first 4 on the list. Guys, please, the Heiko, Google it, whatever. Go check our affiliates page on Fields of Green. Much love there. Head shop, dang shit. Baked in Josie, delicious edibles delivered to your door anywhere in SA. Guys, this is like beyond Gordon Ramsay artisanal shit, yeah. So if you like smashing shit in your face while binging and getting baked, do yourself a favor.
And they make non-green as well.
Non-green as well, yeah. Hey?
Yeah.
Made to order, guys. Also, Green Smoke Room Seeds, guys, really thank you for the support. These guys will stock a whole bunch of Dan genetics locally, and also if you're prepared to wait a bit longer. But, you know, Insta Seeds, it's the dank, Insta Feminized, check them out. And then again, Durban, much love. Delta 9, you know who you are. Thank you, guys. We couldn't do this without you, hey. So
We love our affiliates.
yeah, guys, and please go check out Fields of Green if you want shout outs. Go make a donation. Something, if I can end on this, something that ground me to a fucking halt this week though, was we had this thing and this article went big, and everyone was like, you know what you should do? You should try and crowdfund it, and you should. And I went and I said, but we're here. That's cool. Please make a donation. And you know what I got? Was 200 words of why I won't make a donation. Guys, there's that song, like, it sure would be nice if you donate $1. If you guys would donate just like what you spend on a gram of your month
Even
with
10
us,
rand,
whether
yeah.
it's 10 rand or 150 a gram, whatever.
Imagine if
Please.
all of our 52,000 followers on the Dagga couple page each gave us $50. Woo! Could we ever finish this job and do a really, really good job all the way till the end?
I think the job would have been done already.
Yeah, and I mean it was $50.
So guys, Fields of
donate
Green.
page. Yeah.
We take Bitcoin now, even though the bubble done pop a bit. Bitcoin. Guys, thank you. Subscribe. Anything? Shout out. What should we check? Sites. D-Day soon.
Yeah, D-Day soon. Ooh, just dropping a
D-Day.
hint. Yeah.
I've said too much.
Let your friends know.
Yeah.
Stay lit, eh?
Cool.
Stay lit.
Peace.
Love everybody.
Bye.